I'm here today in the heart of Barnegat Bay, someplace between Island Beach and the mainland, say Waretown, Forked River. But Barnegat Bay, a lot of folks just say Barnegat Bay, when in actuality, the upper stretches go all the way to the south entrance to the Point Pleasant Canal. And Barnegat Bay extends to just north of the Manahawkin Bridge. That's where you got Manahawkin Bay, and then Little Egg Harbor, Tuckerton Bay, and Great Bay. One of the favorite species for me throughout my entire life here in Barnegat Bay and into all the waters down in the Great Bay is weakfish. I'm here today with Captain Dave DeGennaro, Hi Flier out of Waretown, who loves to go out catching weakfish. A couple of different ways that are really popular with catching these unicorns. Say unicorns because there's a one fish bag limit and everybody assumes that there are no weakfish anymore. We're going to prove today that there are. Grass shrimping is one popular method, but another method that Dave's got, lollygagging, little pieces of shedder. I'm going to let Dave tell you exactly what we're talking about.
So we just anchored up in like 8 or 9 feet of water here on Barnegat Bay, New Jersey. And we're using these 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce jig heads. A lot of times I like to use them without the hair, naked. And we're gonna cut up some cheddar crab. I only use live cheddar crab. It's a hard bait to get, but sometimes you can find them in the shops. Usually got to call ahead to make sure. And we're gonna cast it out and do this retrieve I like to call a lollygag. I'll show it to you. And you're gonna put a chunk of crab on this jig. It's not gonna look pretty because cheddar never does, because it's just a hunk. So it's not gonna be clean looking like a strip bait would be, because it's all about the scent with the cheddar. It's loaded with pheromone when they're in that stage of shedding their hard shell, and there'll be a soft shell in place underneath it. Looks just like a regular blue claw. The regulations are relaxed on the size so that they could offer them for sale for bait. I start with removing all the claws and the legs, because we're going to use the legs, you'll see in a little bit. And then you pop that cap, and if you have a good source for cheddar crabs, there'll be a soft shell underneath. And that's the cheddar. And you start with that little V wedge. That's a good piece of bait.
So now we've got one piece of bait.
That's the abdomen. That's loaded with that scent.
Ideally, how many pieces of bait do you want to get out of a cheddar crab of this size, for example?
This little guy, if I get 5 or 6 baits out of him, maybe a little more. So the shell is actually a bait too, that soft shell. Peel that off and cut it in half. This is the chum. It's the only chum when you're using cheddar, is just the pieces that you're throwing. And this you kind of just crack like a soft-boiled egg now. Just use your thumbs to hear that shell crack a little bit. All right, I like to just get it rocking back and forth and then finish that outward rock with a flip rather than a hard overhand cast that's just gonna rip the bait off. And you let it sink all the way. Like I said, it's only 8 or 9 feet, so it doesn't take long. And now just really get tight to it. And this is the retrieve I came up with. I call it a lollygag. Is you just lift the rod painfully slow. That makes it hop out of that 1 to 2 foot of eelgrass that's on the bottom. And then all you're doing is capturing the slack on the way down. And you do that all the way back to the boat until you feel a tick or a thump, and then you hit them back. Jim Hutchinson's hooked up to our first decent fish here.
Looks good. Looks good. I don't know if it's one of those big kingfish or we got ourselves a weakie. It's a nice weakie. Look at that one. Beautiful.
Should we net him?
Yeah, we're going to need to net this one.
All right, let me get the net.
Got him.
Got him.
you got your hand on the camera too, Dave.
Oh, beautiful, Jim.
That's fantastic.
You're a born lollygagger.
I am a lollygagger. Beautifully hooked too. Beautiful fish. Oh, go baby, go.
Woo! Boy, he hit like a ton of bricks, huh, Jim?
Dave, that first wiki we caught was really nice.
Yeah.
But this is a monster. I don't know what it is. I mean, it could be a little striper. If it's a weak fish, it's a size. But he's going to go over to the other side of the boat.
I'll meet you over there.
He's dogging. Oh, she's
Nice
beautiful.
weekie.
God, she's beautiful.
Ready?
There, we're going to slide her in. Oh, yeah. Look at that.
What a tank.
Oh, my gosh, she's so beautiful. She's purple. Stick my hands in her gills. With a 1 fish bag limit, we're going to keep going.
Well done. Love it.
Now, I know the idea of leaving fish to find fish is never a good idea, but part 1 of today was doing the cheddar crab for weakfish. We ended up with a couple of weakfish. We also ended up with a couple of dogfish. We ended up with a blowfish. We ended up with a grunt as well, so the variety is there. So we're going to go with a live shrimp now. We're at one of Dave's friends picking up some live shrimp. What do you think? We got 4 quarts of grass shrimp here, something like that maybe?
So I usually order 10 and he gives us more.
Oh, cool. It's hard to tell in this big box, but he's transferring the live shrimp. It's very important with grass shrimp and for weakfish to keep those grass shrimp alive in a fish box over the side. Sometimes we'll use a cooler with ice and then damp newspaper on top of that. But I always tend to think that grass shrimping for weakfish is really kind of like a lost art. Very popular in Barnegat Bay, all the way down into Great Bay, but all the people I've talked to throughout New Jersey, even down into Delaware Bay, grass shrimping was not a tactic that folks used for catching weakfish. But we're going to do it behind Barnegat Light. We're going to see what happens.
Yeah, I think it comes down to wherever there's a place that guys are willing to catch the bait, where they're willing to harvest it commercially. Because it's a real tricky bait. It's so delicate that what we have left here at the end of the tide, I throw away because you can't even carry it over to the next day.
Fragile. It's not going to last.
Yeah.
These guys are pretty much dredging for the grass shrimp.
They are, yep.
I've talked to people who said, I'm just going to dip net right around my bulkhead. You're going to need really about a gallon of grass shrimp at least to do this. So the concept is one. We're fishing on these little shad darts. And I fish these a couple of different ways. From drifting the shad dart into with the outgoing one like we're doing right now. But a lot of times too on a calm day I'll cast out and then bring it slowly back.
That works as well. I like that retrieve. I would say if you want to piss off a weak fish, go slow and steady without making it jump. But yet, this is the technique when we're vertical jigging right next to the boat, it's kind of a frantic jig. But when you're doing the cast and retrieve, let it sink most of the water column. Like we're in 14 feet of water here, so let it sink almost all the way down and then just painfully crank it.
It's not much different than the lollygag.
Yeah, right.
So the essentials. Getting the grass shrimp is difficult. They're thrown over handfuls. How do you know when to throw the handfuls of shrimp over to get them into the slick? That's basically what you're doing, right? We've already, when we got here, we marked a bunch of fish on the bottom.
Yes.
The fish are here.
Yeah, for me, it's a built-in timer. I can't shut it off even when I go home. I'm looking for the box because my timer went off. So it's every couple of minutes, you throw a small handful over. You can't make up for a missed throw by throwing heavy. So you have to be married to that box. You have to know that it's time to throw. Even if it's just me and a friend, you and I are out here and we get lucky, we're both hooked up fighting fish, I'm gonna get to that box with the hooked fish and get a handful of shrimp in the water.
During the bout.
Yeah.
The epic bout.
Yeah, otherwise we'll boat our fish and we'll high five each other to realize the slick is over, the weak fish are gone, and everything's gone.
So once you get them in, once that slick is going, do not stop the slick. It's the
Yeah.
same as any fishing. Tuna, shark, same thing. Don't break that slick line.
Yeah, I rarely delegate throwing the chum of any kind to anybody. There you go. It's a little better. Fluke.
No. It's pulling. You like when it's pulling.
You are right.
You got it?
Yeah. Nice job.
That's one little problem. These little guys swallowing our dart. You can get it out. Grunt, grunt.
See, if we hadn't gotten those ones earlier on the crab, we'd be like, whoa, that's a nice one.
Captain Dave DeGennaro, Hi Flier out of Waretown. I got to thank you, man. It's like being a kid again.
So much fun, Jim.
It's always fun doing this. You do a lot of tuna fishing on the same boat.
Yes.
What's this model boat?
It's a World Cat, 25 foot.
And it's great offshore, but it's equally good here.
Yeah, it's equally comfortable in the rough water offshore and the calm water back here. It's a shallow draft boat, so we could do the bay and the offshore fishing.
If you hear the wind, we're in the middle of a nor'east. It's been blowing nor'east all week, and it's supposed to go for several more days. But again, there's those opportunities to get yourself into a quiet location, in a hole. You put the chum pot down like we did to start the day. We put the chum pot out, but we were fishing with shedder crab and got some nice size weak fish. Here we were chumming with the grass shrimp and catching more variety. What was our final tally on varieties?
7 for species count.
7. We're loaded up with the perch in here and the bluefish as well. So there are opportunities this fall until the water really starts to drop out and things get nasty for you to find yourself a nice quiet place in the back bay to put out some chum. You get yourself onto some fish. The weak fish, unicorns, I don't know if they're so unicorn-like.
You wouldn't know it today, right?
Not at all.
If you feed them, they will come.
That's the key. Hey, thanks a lot. We're going to be doing this again soon, I hope.
Yeah, man.
All right, cool.